Welcome to the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
So here we are on the Biz Gone Social podcast, and I'm so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business and your social media marketing and help you stay social. Because after all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And I am so stoked to have someone I've known now for at least 3 years, Jen Grosso. Jen, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be on the podcast, and I just love being in your energy, and I love how you introduce that. Who doesn't want a little dose of caffeine now and then?
And, you know, I've seen all your marketing, and I've seen everything you do for your own business, and I marvel at it because I think you are like a top 10 in what you do. All your posts really resonate with me. So before I get into that, I want to talk, and this is why I picked you for my podcast, because I feel that you're just a great example of what it's like to be in business for yourself. So give my audience a little background about yourself and tell a little bit about what you do and how you serve people.
Oh, I'd love to do that. I have a really unique and varied background, and I started out on a very traditional career path. I became a lawyer, and I was a litigator, and I was, to toot my own horn, really great at it. I had a really successful, excellent start to my career in law. And what I found, though, was that it wasn't fulfilling. And it wasn't really what I was meant to do, but I also felt a little bit lost. And also, like, I had invested so much time and money in becoming an attorney. Did I really want to turn away from that? And yet there was a calling on my heart that was different from what I was doing. And when I started to go on my own self-discovery process, I realized about me that even whenever I was in whenever I was in law school, and even when I was in college and in the early stages of my being attorney, I was always mentoring others who were a few steps behind me. And I was a natural coach. I was naturally helping people do better in whatever it was that they were doing and helping guide them along the way. And that's where most of my strengths lied. And so during that process of trying to figure out what was I going to do, I was an adjunct professor at Montclair State University, and that was part of fulfilling my love of teaching and learning and sharing with others. I've also owned a couple of businesses, like a real estate business. I also owned a gym at one point. And so I have this very, very varied background that helps me help others do better. And so what I do now is I work with high achieving, high performing, already successful executives and entrepreneurs. And I help them find those areas where they might be plateaued, or they might be blocked, or they might be in a place where they're just having difficulty getting to that next level of success for some reason. And I help them bridge that gap. I use a program of my own that I developed on my own, called Chaos to Confidence. And it's when we find ourselves in some place of crisis, even if that crisis is as simple as I'm at a plateau and I can't get where I want to go. What is this block? I'm used to being so good at what I do. Why can't I get to this next level? I come in with my proven system and I help people bridge that gap. It's really fun work.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, I'm a fellow coach. I did coaching for a while, business coaching. And, you know, if I go online, I see like about millions of coaches. What separates you from other high performance coaching?
What I think separates me is that I've been there, and that I've been there in a way it's quite different. I have the ability to see what others can't see. I'm excellent at identifying blind spots that high performers don't necessarily see. And I think that comes mostly from my being an attorney. my ability to scan very quickly for what are the holes, where are the weaknesses, and how can we shore those up, and how can we maximize the strengths. And because I have such a wide and varied experience, life experience and career and business experience, I can see things, I can see challenges that could arise if they take a certain course of action or they engage in a certain strategy that they may not see for themselves. And so what I end up doing is I end up optimizing what they're doing now and the micro steps and that they're engaged in right now, so that when they are expanding in their strategy later and going towards a bigger vision later, they're not doing double work. They're setting themselves up now for the success that they want later. And I think that that's a huge benefit for people who are trying to achieve really big goals, and they're trying to achieve things that are often beyond just the normal success goals that people have. These are people who are out there trying to build a legacy, or their goals are a very high level, extraordinary goals. I've even worked with Broadway actresses, for example. And when you have extraordinary goals, you need to have the extraordinary strategies and actions to back those up. And you need a lot of foresight. You need someone that's on your side, backing you up and alerting to you what might be in the future that could derail you in some way. And I'm your girl for that.
Yeah, I love that. I always I'm really big into superheroes and superpowers. And I see that that's your superpower, and you do it well. I'm going to switch gears a little bit because both of us are business owners.
Yes.
And I want to ask you, what do you like the best about owning your own business? And what do you enjoy? What do you enjoy most about owning your own business?
What I love about owning my own business is probably the same thing that oftentimes causes some trouble for me as well. I'll admit that. And it is the freedom to do the work that I love and to explore what I might want to do. And that freedom is amazing. And it makes me feel really good about going down different paths and choosing to have some fun. And like I said, explore with various programs or who I might like to work with. Now, where that causes some problems for me sometimes is that I often don't just have one path I want to go down, and I have to rein in that bright, shiny object syndrome, and I have to rein myself in and make sure that I don't say yes to too many projects so that I overburden myself. And so while I love the freedom, I always have to rein myself in, just like I'm reining my clients in, and keep myself focused on what's most important right now. So I usually allow myself, this is one of the tools that I give myself, I allow myself one fun project that I can explore on while I'm making sure that I'm attending to all the really important things I need to do to keep my business running like clockwork.
I love that. We all need that. I mean, some of us are to the grind 24/7. And they don't allow for anything fun. One of the ways I like to look at it is I have to do something new all the time, something new, and I do it. I try to do something new sometimes every day. And just because it kind of excites me, it gets me excited for life. And, having a fun project, I consider I'm writing a book right now. I consider that sort of a fun project. So, whatever works for, especially like my audience out there, they're just probably, most of them are all business owners. So they're probably working really hard. They're, and they're not doing what they should be doing, is spending time with their friends and family and doing something for themselves. Always have to remind people about self-care, taking care of yourself, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be good for anybody else.
That's right. It's foundational for all of my programs, and people work with me for more than a decade. I have incorporated it very specifically in the work that I do, both one-on-one and in my groups. And it's an element of radical self-care, because if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not building up and shoring up that foundation, we won't have the energy to perform at the very highest levels that you need to do this extraordinary thing called entrepreneurship that we've all signed up for. And it's amazing. And so just to double back, I love that you're writing a book and you have that passion project. That is a really fun one. But you can also do things like, and I think you do this as well, the incorporating something fun might be, like me, I'm learning how to surf. And that's not necessarily a business related activity. And yet I still consider it something that feeds my bottom line, because the more joy that I feel, the more great energy I have to then bring to my clients and the way that I show up in my business. And so I believe that incorporating something fun can even be something that doesn't fall neatly within the business box. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think it actually should be outside the business box. That totally fun. Because like, for instance, like one of the other things that I do, and I know you probably have a whole bunch of things that you do. I think I've seen online some of the things you do, but one of the things I like to do is I like to ride my bike. And so I have this crazy app on my phone and I challenge myself. Well, yesterday I did 2 miles. So today I'll do 3 miles. And the day before that I did 5 miles. So I'm going to do 6 miles today. And, just trying to, or, this time I'm going to do something scenic with my bike ride. And then I'm going to hang out for a little bit. Like I'll ride to the beach and hang out at the beach. So I think those things, like they really, like the beach always energizes me. I don't know if it's the same for you. If you like this, learning how to surf. I have no desire to learn how to surf because I would probably land in one of the waves. I know I would. It's and I don't like being pushed by waves underneath water. I've had some really bad experiences with that, even being a good swimmer as I am. So, but speaking of swimming and business, some people are way above water in their businesses and some people are drowning.
That's right.
And if there was one piece of advice that you can give to those that may be feeling like they're drowning in their business, what would that be? What would you tell them?
That feeds very nicely into what I was talking about, my methodology that I created, the chaos to confidence. So often the people who are in that chaos, they are in chaos and they feel like they are drowning. And the very first step is to take a step back and acknowledge that you feel that way, and to sit back and observe, what am I thinking right now? And is what I'm thinking, is that really serving me right now? So it's really to take a breath and think about your thinking, right? It's metacognition. It's thinking about your thinking. There's a big neuroscience component to what I do. It's very important to me that the methods that I use are backed by research, by proven strategies, by neuroscience. And if we can take if we can take a look at what we're thinking about and we can have some self-awareness about that, it's much easier to break free of spiraling thoughts that we often have when we're in that place of drowning, and take a breath and calm down, rather than throwing at spaghetti at the wall as you're trying to reach and try to figure out, like, how do I fix this problem? Too often people respond to the chaos by creating more chaos with attempting to do 15 different strategies and consulting with 15 different people, when really what you need to do is take a step back so that you can have more of a clear head and operate from a place of calm than being in that frenetic energy, which is really tough to do on your own. And it's at a time when you're in chaos, and often chaos is often combined with maybe not having as much funds as you'd like to. It's really important at that time to invest in really qualified support that can help you get from that place of chaos and get you to a place of, first, to stability. Very often you hear a lot of coaches talking about, we're going to 10x what you're doing in you're going to have a massive turnaround in 30 days. Forget about the turnaround. Let's get you stable first. so we can build from a strong foundation. And that's always my goal. And it starts with, let's think about your thinking. Let's calm down. Let's address that all first.
Yeah. And it's amazing how much one thought can totally sabotage your progress and moving forward.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember back in the day before I discovered coaching in my life that I would like think something and I would just focus on that like the whole day almost. And it was like, I wasn't moving forward at all in anything that I was attempting to do because something bad happened and I was thinking about that. And so I can totally relate to just your process. Tell me, your title of your program, Chaos to what? Confidence?
Chaos to confidence. Yes.
How did that come about? And when did you start this program?
So it was really an evolution. In the beginning of my programs, I was very heavily focused on strategy. What are the strategies that you need to implement? What are they like? Here's your roadmap. Here's your framework. Execute these. And yet I was seeing that I would give my clients really great strategies, even options for strategies, and they wouldn't implement them, or they were struggling to implement them. And I often found that a lot of that had to do with their mindset and often a confident mindset. So I was digging deep in, all right, let's start from a foundation. And once I realized that this was something very common, even among high performers, that they were struggling to feel confident, whether it was confident in their ability to handle something, whether they were having an anxiety-ridden response based on the circumstances of things imploding around them, whatever it was, how could I get them? So, because that's who I am. How can I get you from where you are now to where you need to be and you want to be? And that became the most significant problem for me to solve. It was the one I found out once I was on the inside. Once I actually got on the inside of the business, I realized it wasn't so much the strategy. It was about how they were thinking, how they were being, and what their levels of confidence were, so that we could then build them up enough to execute on the strategy. And I found the concept in psychology of the confidence competence loop. Mm-hmm. And I started using that loop. And it just ended up not serving very well. It ended up not fully explaining what happens. And so often I would have people, well, how am I supposed to feel competent at something if I've never done it? Like, how do I get the confidence to rise to that level? And so it was born of, all right, what are the actual steps that you need to take to feel confident? And I think that people too often believe that confidence is one thing. This is confidence. And when really there are levels of confidence. We need enough confidence at its first level to initiate action. And the confidence that most people are talking about is that innate confidence you have after you've mastered something, after you've developed the full competence in something, after you've clearly identified for yourself that you're capable of doing something. But how do you start? And often I was certainly given the advice as a junior attorney, even when I was a young person, even in high school, you should fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. Problem with fake it till you make it is that it's inauthentic. People can smell it on you that you're faking it. It often comes off as arrogant. It's not delivered well. It feels bad. And so I started looking for what are all of the ways that you can generate the feeling of confidence initially, but in an authentic and very real way that will take you from that lower level of confidence all the way up, not a loop of confidence, but a spiral of confidence so that you feel full mastery. And then inevitably letting people know chaos comes up all the time. And sometimes chaos is good, sometimes it's bad. Chaos can be actually think about, I know for me, there were times when I experienced someone come in and give me an opportunity that immediately felt like chaos because I had never done it before. This is your first experience where we want you to come in and we want you to speak and we want you to fill in and speak for a few hundred people. And we need you to do that by tomorrow morning. Can you do that? My initial reaction was chaos. And so I used my own tools very quickly. How am I thinking about this? How am I also, by the way, part of my program is about your body. It's not just your mind, but it's about your body. And I don't think most people know this, but you can use body positions, breathing, body movement to release chemicals that inspire confidence, that generate an authentic confidence, not one that you have to fake, one that your body actually feels, that will push you into action and not keep you in fright or flight or frozen because you're so afraid of what's coming up. So it's really exciting. That's how you start the confidence spiral, and how to go through that in a systematic way.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I was just like, when you brought up that whole confidence, confidence loop, I believe that I first learned that from Brendan Burchard, but I don't remember who first came up with it, but I remember learning it in one of his programs. But really funny is that for me, I kind of always bypass that confidence loop, because when I thought about it, I was like, it actually stressed me out, because it's like that question does come up. It's like, if you don't have the confidence, you're not going to have the confidence. And then when you lose confidence, it's because you don't have the confidence. So it is a loop, and it's kind of a stressful loop. And so what I realized, that I had my own mechanism in place. It was called, like, you know what, I'm going to figure this out. Yes. And for some reasons, me saying I'm going to figure this out, it boosted my competence, because I learned about it. I learned how to do it. This question came up. I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find out for you. And I was always
that deep trust.
Yeah. And so it was like, that's what happened for me. And when I first went into business for myself, this was years ago. I remember I was told by a mentor, just join a BNI group, you'll get plenty of leads and blah, blah, blah. And I remember walking into that room feeling, this is the coachy thing now here. It's like, I'm just not enough for this room. I just felt that. Right. And I remember, like, for almost a year when I gave my commercial, not one person, I feel like, and at that point I was a coach, so not one person understood who I was. And then one day, I don't know, I told a story, and all of a sudden, no longer did I see in the crowd the deer in the headlight. And I realized that stories are important in your life, and stories are it helps. I mean, if you have these stories, there's your confidence, there's your confidence. And that day was the day that I went on a whole breakthrough to actually being more confident in my life. And yeah, as there's times where, like, I'm a little scared. I mean, on Saturday night, I spoke to like 208 people on a call for another coach. And I literally was so nervous. And, but it was okay. I was with other people that were, like-minded, and they got me, and it was totally okay. And it's just funny how those kind of things happen. Jen,
absolutely.
This has been really an amazing call. I mean, I could talk about, when I shifted over to social media marketing, and I'm not going to have you talk about social media marketing or anything, but I just really feel you do a good job at it, because I feel your voice in your social media marketing. All that to say, when I first started out, and I was, I decided I was going to be a business coach, and I went for my certification in that, blah, blah, blah. And when I discovered social media on the way. And I like doing that a lot better. But what I did discover is that every business owner that I have worked with, it's not their services or products that aren't good, but it is their mindset. And you mentioned that today. And I know there's somebody, probably listening to this podcast right now that could probably use your expertise. And so you want to just share a little bit of, like, some URLs, and I'll make sure that I put them in the post. So just share, like, how they can get in touch with you if they need to talk to you.
I would love, if you are struggling with your mindset, or you're not even sure what the struggle is. Sometimes that's what's really plaguing someone, is they don't know why it's not working for them. I'm excellent at helping you shore up those foundational pieces, like your mindset, and even identifying blind spots in your strategy. And I'd love to have you come in. I'm the founder. My business is called the Bold Fire Institute. So you can find me at boldfireinstitute.com. I have a number of ways that people can work with me. They can work with me, in a deep container for over a year, which is a one-to-one very intense work with me personally. They can also work with me in various group programs. I even have shorter programs. I have one that's an intensive for 1 month called the Bold Moves Intensive. And that's where they can get some quick advice, some quick help to turn things around for them in a month's time. People often stay with me longer. I'm just going to mention that as well, but I'd love for them to join me. I also have they can find me on LinkedIn. I'll give you that link as well for Jennifer Grosso on LinkedIn. And you can also find me on my Facebook group, which is the Lab for Mind, Body, and Business Breakthroughs. I'd love to have them join me over there, and they can learn a little bit more about me, see how I work, see if it looks like we're a fit. And they can even just give me a call. We can go through, no obligation, no stress, no heavy sales practices that are imposed on you. We can just see if it's a fit or if I have a recommendation for them.
Great. And I'll put all those links below in the podcast post. Again, I want to thank you for being on my podcast. It's always a privilege to talk to you, and I am totally honored by it. And until next week, everyone, I'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at Biz Gone Social for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.